This is Kim with Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. Today we're in a new location, as you can see. We're in Viktors Legacy here in Fairport Harbor. They're a full-service gunsmithing company. Anything you want done, from triggers to adding on parts, Cerakoting, and so much more. You break it, they can fix it. And why I brought Darrell here today is because he's a gunsmith, and I get a lot of questions about when should I clean my gun? How do I know if my gun's dirty? And important things you should know about carrying and maintaining your gun so you don't have to bring it to Darrell because you did a boo-boo. And if you've been to our higher level classes, you've probably met Darrell before because he also helps RSO for us often. So Darrell, our very first question is, how often should I clean my gun?
Well, there's not really a solid answer to that. It kind of varies. For one, it depends on how much you use your firearm. So a lot of people are like, hey, every time I use it, I gotta clean it. And then a lot of other people are like, but it's not dirty yet and it still works and there's no signs of anything going on. So maybe not now. Maybe some people do it once a year, or maybe sometimes, but my short answer is I clean mine when it's dirty.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but I always tell people you can't clean it too much as long as you're cleaning it properly.
That is correct.
So that's something to think about too. Next question I get a lot is, how do I know if my gun's too dirty or too dry? Are there any signs or things I can look for?
First big thing is going to be, it's going to stop working. So, a lot of people come in and they're like, hey, I'm getting some malfunction, some failure to feed, some stovepiping and whatnot, which isn't always dirt, but a lot of times is. So that would be my first sign is, hey, I'm getting some malfunctions.
The question number 3, how far should I take it apart?
I always recommend doing a standard field strip and no more. Unless you're really into doing this and you know what you're doing, you can really foul things up really quickly. So 100% field strip, clean it, put it back together.
And for those of you that are really new to shooting, that's just the 4 main parts, which is the slide, the barrel, the guide rod assembly, and the frame. The next question we get often is, how do we know how much oil and where to put it?
So surprisingly, that answer is really easy to find. Believe it or not, every time you buy a firearm, it comes with this cool little booklet. And the booklet will actually tell you where and how much.
Another question I actually got from a patron was, what should I do with a new gun? Do I need to do anything at all?
When you do get a new gun, it usually comes, packed with a little heavier grease or something like that that's going to hold it over while it's on the shelf waiting to be sold. So the first thing I do is field strip it, clean it with some gun scrubber, and then relube it with cleanse oil.
Why gun scrubber? I think a lot of people are intimidated by it or fearful to use it on their polymers and things like that.
I've been using gun scrubber since the beginning. The shop's been using it since they opened up. It's one of those things that is safe to use on anything. It never really, mars anything up. It's been really good with all the finishes. We use it with Cerakote, blues, all of the things on all of our polymers. And I've never had an issue with it. Sometimes when you use it on something that's real oily, it'll leave a little white residue. And all that's really doing is just super drying out and super cleaning the product. And as soon as you get a little bit of oil or anything back on it, it comes right back to that nice shiny black.
What about any products that you shouldn't use?
Well, you never really want to use super harsh chemicals or house cleaning products or anything like that. You want to use something that's specifically labeled for firearm use. You also don't want to use steel brushes or anything that's going to scratch and mar the finish. You can use a little bit of 4/0 steel wool if you have a spot that's, troublesome to clean, or a little bit of surface rust or anything like that. A little 4/0 steel wool will work. One other thing that you probably are not going to need during cleaning a firearm is a hammer. I mean, I have seen more and more people come in and be like, hey, I couldn't get this apart, so I just beat the slide off of it. Chances are, if you're working at something that hard, you're probably taking it apart wrong. And leading to that, as you go to take your firearm apart, there's a ton of videos out there. There's a lot of information. Go and watch something on YouTube or a video or anything that was going to kind of give you a heads up on what you're about to find out. It's a lot it's a lot more cost effective for you to bring me in a whole gun and let me do a full cleaning on it than it is for you to try to do a clean and then bring me a bag of gun.
So Darrell is here at the Gunsmith shop, so he probably sees this the most. So what are the biggest mistakes you see? Why do people bring it? What do they do that messes it up?
The first and foremost biggest one I see is too much oil. I hear it all the time. Hey, my buddy told me last week that I have this AR-15 and you can't oil it enough. Oil plus environmentals and unburnt powder and stuff like that really equals mud, and that will really gum up the works really quickly. Another thing is not cleaning it ever. I get a lot of firearms that are coming in here with malfunctions and stuff that haven't been cleaned in thousands and thousands of rounds, and they will eventually stop working. One more thing that I forgot to bring up is you can get away with a field strip clean over and over and over again, and eventually you're going to get into some malfunctions and some things not working, at which point you're probably going to want a full clean. And at that point, you're going to want to bring it to a gunsmith or, your local gunsmith and let them do what we call a full clean and function check, where we literally take everything apart, right down to the last screw and spring of the firearm, right down to the day it was made, put it back, check for any wear, anything like that, put it back together and function check it. That'll put you back on track.
Well, we can't thank Darrell and Viktors Legacy enough for letting us come in. The last time we made a video with Darrell, he made a bunch of jokes about him being a YouTube gunsmith, but as you can see, he actually works in a real shop. So thank you, Darrell, for your time and helping all of our YouTuber people learn more about how to care and maintain their gun. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a share, a comment. We always love to hear from you. Of course, subscribe here on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. We put all of our premium content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.